All right, we're gonna start with the law of compensation. Pretty much that you get what you put out. You get what you give. So you will receive what you put out in form of thought, in form of action, in form of just making the most use value. You know, we want to make the most use value of all the tools that we've been given. Because what's the point of having something and not using it? Let's say you have a skill or a talent, like you're good at basketball. Then with that basketball, you can train all day long, every single fucking day, and get the most use value out of that basketball. Versus someone like me, who maybe it's videos because I like to think, or maybe it's recording because I like to make music. You can check that out in the description. You know, it's just about getting the most use value out of it, and what you put into it is what you're gonna get out. We all know that, we all heard that, but that's all this channel is just a bunch of reminders of the good stuff that we want to keep our mind focused on. Because, like I say all the time, it's infinite things going on out there. Everybody gonna try to tell you something. And when it comes to me and what I'm doing here, we're gonna talk about the right ways that we want to be in order to get what we want. So this comes off of a book I was reading about some spiritual laws and shit like that. You know, the next one we're gonna talk about is non-resistance, which is letting go of all resistance. You know, it's not just taught in this book that I was reading, but it's also taught in Brian Wither's work, who I really appreciate. Quote him all the time. But pretty much we just want to let go of resistance within our thought. Like, if you have ideas, flashbacks, you know, we all get them flashbacks where we think like, why did I do that? Or that sucked. And it's like, it's an illusion. So we want to kill off the illusions. You know, maybe we think we can do something, you know, like for instance, if I think that I'm gonna make a good YouTube, you know, but then I get thoughts of like, oh no, like it's nothing, like it's not even popping, you're not gonna pop. We just get rid of that and just get back to the work, man. It's pretty much that fucking simple, you know. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but I just really like the idea of non-resistance because, you know, if you're someone who thinks, an intellectual, then it is very certain that you will deal with resistance within your own thoughts, you know, which is why we want to think thoughts that feel good to us. And like how Brian Withers says, one of his big things is feel resistance, find relief. Feel resistance, find relief. Feel resistance, find relief. And that works for me, and I think it'll work for you. So properly controlled thought is to use the law wisely. So, you know, like I said, I'm reading this book and, you know, I'm taking down notes, and one of the things that stood out to me is like the difference between all of us is how we think and what we think. And of course what we do, because what we do flows from what we think, and then, you know, we turn that to a habit. Habits crystallize over time, and then, you know, you got some results. But at the heart of everything is properly controlled thought is to use, you know, your gift, your life, your time on earth correctly. Is to control your thoughts, to only dwell on the right things in certain ways, right? So the next thing we're going to go over is this is a book that I really like. It's called How to Outwit the Devil, you know, pretty much by Napoleon Hill. And there's just a couple of things in there that I wanted to go over, like the 7 principles, which is definiteness of purpose. Got to know what you want, know what you're about, know what you want. Mastery over self-discipline, all that good stuff. Learning from adversity. Shit don't go your way. Just learn and grow. You know, we never accept defeat. Control the influences you're around. You know, I don't know if you've ever lived a life where you're around people where it's like, you know, it's not the best influence. But if you haven't or have, you want to control your own influences as best as you can. Time is something to keep in mind, because the thoughts that we choose today, right now, over time will continue to build momentum. So that's why it's very important to stay away from negative habits. Harmony, you want to be in harmony with your mental, spiritual, and physical aspects. You know, you want to be in harmony with yourself, which is what I'm really trying to help you with. I'm not saying that I know everything, but what I am saying is I have gathered a bunch of information that if you will listen and, you know, think about it, rinse your mind in it, we will attain a higher level of harmony, which is necessary. You gotta have that harmony within yourself for it to reflect outside of yourself. And then caution, you want to think through your plans and actions before you do them. Just don't want to be making no stupid mistakes, you know. I mean, we're gonna keep going. So there were 10 rules that were presented in the book that I like and wanted to just, you know, talk about again. Rule 1 is do your own thinking on all occasions, you know, which is important because what we're learning here is thought is creative. So it's like, if we can think our own thoughts, we can create our own circumstances, as opposed to just, like I said, there's infinite shit out there, bro. Infinite, sis. There's infinite. So we gotta know what we want to create. What do we want to create? And you just hold that shit up here. You know, rule 2, decide what you want. Create a plan for it. Get rid of everything else. Never accept defeat. You know, it's huge. We don't just want to be wasting away on this planet. You know, we want to know what we want, know what we don't want, and like I always say, get to what you want and grow. We want to analyze. Rule 3, analyze temporary defeat, no matter what's the nature or cause, and extract from it the seed of equivalent advantage. I mean, you know, pretty much for this one, it's just like, if shit don't go your way, you know, we know that there is a way for it to go your way. Like, even if it looks bad, there's a way for it to go good. Because we have our inner being that is lining shit up for us. You know, there's another part of us that lines shit up, that it pretty much just lines it up. Like if you go through something you don't like, it lines up what you do like. And then the way we get that is by feeling good and staying in alignment with the good, and then it just flows to us. That's Brian Withers again. So once again, you know, I'm always recommending Brian Withers' material. Rule 4, be willing to render useful service equivalent to the value of all things you demand of life, and render the service first. Yeah, one of the good things, one of the theses is service. You know, we want to be valuable. We want to be giving value as much as possible. I do. Just obsessed over it. You know, joyous expansion and then giving value. Huge things that when we make these as the center of our thoughts, we'll never go off track. You know, if we always hold being of value and being of service highly, then we will continue to strive to find ways to be of service. And once we're of service, then money's coming to us, more good things, because it's not just money. You know, the riches of life are more than money. You know, I'm gonna just jump on that one time. There was a lady who had all the money in the world, but then she got cancer, and she was trying to sell everything to get rid of her cancer, but she couldn't get rid of it. So there's health, you know, wealth, you know. There's also, I read another story of a dude who got really rich but neglected his family, and, you know, so then his relationships deteriorated, and it's like, you know, but we want all of it, you know. That's why we're here. We want health, wealth, relationships. We want the whole thing. Rule 5 is recognize that your brain is a receiving set that can be attuned to receive communications from the universal storehouse of infinite intelligence to help you transmute your desires into their physical equivalent. I mean, pretty much, like, we get ideas, you know, we get hunches, we get inspirations. We just want to jump on that shit, you know, jump on it, do the action, stay consistent. Number 6, the asset of time. You know, pretty much budget your time, use that shit the right way. Number 7, recognize that fear is a filler. So if you got some fear, man, like I say, if you think about poverty, fuck that shit, bro. You need to think about riches. If you think about fear, fuck that shit. You need to think about success. If you think about, you know, what you don't want, that is probably one of the greatest blunders of humanity that I'm trying to help us overcome, and that a lot of people are overcoming and helping us overcome. It's just that we are powerful, creative beings. So when we sit here and think about something, we are creating it. So it's important that we put our creation powers only on what we want. That's why I like to live near the rich and near rich shit, because rich people always think about how to make more money. And you already know it's not all about money, but I would rather be around that than around poverty, where it's like, if you're around poverty, people like that, they always think about poverty. You know, they always think about not enough. You know, I like to think that even if you don't have nothing, if you have zero, and you think about having, you think about everything you want to have, that shit is gonna start trickling in. Not because of anything other than you're just creating it. Alright, when you pray, don't beg, demand what you want, insist upon getting exactly that with no substitutes. I mean, I definitely feel it, you know, like I was thinking about that the other day, like, what type of God are we praying to if we need to go to it and like supplicate and like whine and get on our knees and be like, please, 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 and then still might not get it. Like, to me, that's not what a God is. Like, to me, a God is like, it knows what you want before you even want it, and puts it along your path. So anyways, when we're praying, we don't want to be in states of like, we don't want to be in the lower states of doubt and fear, bro. We want to be in the higher ones of love, joy, enlightenment, peace, you know. So we want to get to that state of knowing. That's really it. Because if you know and you feel like a strong conviction, it's one of the things that I've seen in people who have made it in life. It's like that extremely strong conviction of like, nah, this is how I'm gonna do it. This is what I'm made for. This is what I'm on. Ain't nothing stopping it. You know, I'm going all the way with it. Life seems to just unfold around them. You know, 9. You know, life is a taskmaster. I'm gonna let you read that. That's too much to read. But man, like, you want to get shit done, don't accept anything that you don't want. You know, I really like that point, because it's like, even if I'm living here, you know, and I want to live in like something way nicer, as long as I keep thinking about the way nicer shit and I never let go of it, the way's gonna open up. In this last rule of the book is a way of explaining that. You know, remember that your dominating thoughts attract through a definite law of nature by the shortest and most convenient route their physical counterpart. I mean, if that doesn't deserve a sip of this fantastic mango tea, like, I don't know what else does. So what are you thinking about? What are you coming back to? When it's like, when you're done scrolling, watch your content, you put the phone down, what thought are you jumping on? You could choose any of these thoughts that I'm throwing at you right now, buddy. That's why I'm doing this, because like, every thought that I'm saying right now, if that becomes something that you just think about when you put the content down, and you're like, oh yeah, my dominating thoughts attract what I'm thinking about in the physical. A nice car, I don't fucking care, whatever. A good relationship, you know, some mango tea, a new place, freedom, wealth, money. Who gives a fuck, man? Who gives a fuck? Just make sure it's something that you want, bro, because we're here for like 60 to 100 short years, and then boom, now what? We'll probably come back, do it again. But shit, while I'm here this time, make sure that we're doing it right, you know. A few more things, few more good ideas that I can give along before, you know, I get up off this jiggle yang. So discipline. I read in a book, pretty much Abraham Lincoln says some shit about discipline. It's the high road that makes life worth living. And I have to agree. But discipline yourself to the shit that you want. Because it's like, it ain't no point in like disciplining myself to go work out every fucking day if I don't give a fuck about being super fucking swole, or if that's not where I want to put my time. If I feel my time and brain is more useful in a different lane, discipline myself to that lane, you know. And I have worked out a lot. I do still have muscle. I'm just at a different point in my life right now, you know, where it's like we move to the next thing, where it's sacrifice one thing for another. You know, I've sacrificed the need to be in the gym all the time for, you know, these other things that I've got, you know, in the fire right now. But that's another law of sacrifice. Something about whatever you do, you know, when one door closes, another door opens. You know, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. Or if you want something, you know, you got to put time in towards it, whatever. You know, I just thought that was interesting. And then last but not least that I'm going to talk about in this video is the principle of planting thoughts. You know, you can't plant thoughts of a certain nature and reap fruit of another nature. So if I'm planting thoughts of success and plenty and wealth and happiness and life, I will receive the physical counterparts of those thoughts that I planted. And that's got to be one of the biggest things that I just want to get up on here and just talk about over and over again. Over and over again, just this idea of like, what you think about, you bring about. 1 second. I just wanted to go impromptu for a second, just kind of see what flows. Because that's it. I'm flowing. Life is a flowing thing. 1 second you're here, the next second you're there. And, you just come to realize that we as humans are the ones making it all happen. As soon as I leave this place, yeah, sure, someone else might come up in here and, eventually someone will come in here and it'll be theirs, right? But during that time where there's no one in here, it's just quiet. No stuff, no life, no action. The next place that I'm about to go to right now, it's empty. It's probably been empty for a second. But because I got there, I'm the one paying for the electricity. I'm the one paying for the Wi-Fi. I'm the one paying for the lights to stay on. I'm the one giving it the life. So with our life, what are we doing with it? What are we doing with our life force energy? I'm a proponent. I'm gonna be one who's saying, bro, you don't have to do shit, bro. Like, in the sense of like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. If your excellence is in gaming, for instance, train your ass off at the games. Find a way to fucking get really fucking good and give some value to somebody through it. If you're into disc golf, go get mastery at disc golf. Go into a tournament or some shit. Whatever, bro. Like, it doesn't really matter what the fuck you do as long as you like it. Because listen, I do a ton of research, right? One of the things that Brian Withers says that I really enjoy is the law of abundance, where it's like, if you're high vibrational, then abundance is just gonna find you. One of the things he said was that if someone's in their backyard painting and they feel good, money will find them. Everything they want will find them. They want a house, the house will find them. They want a good job, the good job will find them. All based on the good energy, which comes from, it comes from these principles that I'm talking about. It comes from living right. It comes from thinking correctly. And it comes from operating in those higher frequencies of love, joy, peace, enlightenment. Because imagine something don't go my way, and I just start tripping, tweaking, twin. Imagine the whole shit would tweak. Everything in my life would start tweaking. One thing would turn into another thing. I was just somewhere, and I heard someone telling their sob story, and it's like, it's real, because it's real. It's real because you're human, And the way it went was like, they lost their friend, right? So their friend died, and then their car broke down, and then they got laid on the bills. They're just sad, man. And it's like, fuck. Like, that is what I'm trying to help people avoid. Not the unavoidable shit, like the friend dying. Of course, I got, empathy, sympathy. But just the idea of like, if one thing goes wrong, it doesn't go your way, you have to do everything in your power to keep that shit, to keep this thing towards what you do want, bro. Towards what you do want. I liken it to driving a car. Driving a human's kind of like driving a car. When you're driving in a car 50 miles an hour, you cannot look left or right. You can't look to see what the next car is doing. Motherfucker, you better look forward on the road. You can glance up at your rear view. You can glance at the side mirrors if you want to switch lanes. But bro, especially living in a city, if you live in a big city, it means more. Because it's like, there's so many people, bro. I say it all the time, but I'm just saying it just to say this. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. When something goes bad, quote unquote, if you focus on that shit and then your emotions start going bad, you are now creating more bad situations in your life. If something goes bad, quote unquote, you find the good in it. You find the good in right now. Your emotions are good. You are now creating and coming into harmony and agreement with the shit that you do want. And I'm gonna say it one more time because it means everything to me, bro. That's why I feel like this is the place that I want to give value, and these are the topics I want to talk about, because I'm extremely passionate about this shit. So I'm gonna say it one more time because it matters so much here on earth. If something goes not your way, find the good in it. As much as, even if it was like, let's use the lady's example if her friend died. You know, that is obviously not good. Obviously. But if you can think, man, I loved that person, I'll live for them. You know, maybe they're somewhere better now. I believe they're somewhere better. I believe their energy's still with me. I believe they're still guiding me. You know, I will honor their life. Shit like this. And then you come back to where you're at. I'm glad I got a good job. I'm glad I got means of giving value. You know, I'm glad this and that. Then you can avoid bullshit. But I guarantee you, if that happens and then you start just going into that deep ass depression, your body vessel will tell you, first of all, that when you feel bad, that's your body vessel telling you you're creating something you don't like. And then boom, that's when the car breaks down, and then boom, that's when the bill collectors come, and then boom, that's when your credit gets tanked, and then boom, it's a cycle that'll just go as far down as you let it. Just like the thing that I'm telling you to do will take you as high up as you let it. And with that, man, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.